Hi guys, this is Vidas.
And Ausra.
Let's start episode 168 of Ask Vidas and Ausra podcast. This question was sent by Gunilla and she writes, Greetings, my name is Gunilla Hedqvist and I started taking organ lessons in 2003. The year before I had been more or less forced to play in church services in a small church when they lost their regular organist. They needed someone who could at least just play the melodies of the hymns, and that was my level when I started. I then learned how to accompany the hymns with chords also. 3 years later, I started to learn hymns playing soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. Very difficult for me and time consuming to learn. By now, I have played all 8 little preludes and fugues by Bach and some other choral preludes, 3 of the sweet Gothic pieces by Böhlmann, and some César Franck pieces from L'Organiste and Jean Alain, among others. My dream in organ playing is to have a repertoire where I can play the liturgy and hymns with ease and also make my own improvised hymn introductions. I also want to know a good selection of music to use as postludes. And I struggle with sight reading more than one voice at a time. But now using your suggestion to sight read for 15 minutes a day. Because I started playing late in life, it is more difficult to learn and remember, and learning a piece takes a lot of time. I am a slow learner. I need to get better at using efficient practice methods. When my organ teacher gave me Krebs von Gott will ich nicht lassen as a homework, I found your YouTube recording and listened to it several times, and that helped me to practice slowly. So that was the story of Gunilla, right, Ausra?
Yes.
Probably a lot of organists from around the world would share some of the things from her experience. Playing in church, having modest skills of sight reading just the soprano part, and then having the dream of being able to play the repertoire and the hymns at sight in church, and even improvise the hymn introductions, right? But she is still struggling to sight read more than one voice at a time. But do you think, Ausra, that she is on the right track?
I think so, yes. And actually, when I read about, Krebs von Gott will ich nicht lassen, I thought that it's a good idea, all that, Krebs's Klavierübung, because it has so many choral tunes, and it's sort of like a prelude when it's a choral, yes, ornamented choral, and when there is like, the
choral
harmonization. Of course, he does not give it full, but you can write it down, depending on the numbers.
Or sight read it with continual notation.
So I thought that Krebs actually would work well in liturgy too. You could play like the big opening piece as a prelude, then that ornamented choral version as an offering, and then to play the end with organo pleno for your postlude.
Absolutely. And you do that too sometimes if you have to play in church.
Yes, I do it.
You have several favorite pieces by Krebs and
yes,
apply according to situation.
That's right. It's very handy because it's not so hard and does not have lots of pedal.
You could add a pedal at the end for the last harmonization, but it's not required.
Yes.
Yes, and remember that this is the first part of Klavierübung by Krebs. That he wrote 2 more Klavierübung parts, which has dance suites and something else I forget. I think also some kind of suites. So make sure you Google Krebs on Petrucci Music Library, and you will find free scores there, and you can play a lot of interesting repertoire just based on crepes.
Yes.
They are keyboard pieces, of course, without pedals, but good for your finger work and beautiful to listen to. So, if we talk a little bit about, let's say, the repertoire, right? She dreams about having a repertoire where she could play the liturgy and hymns with ease, like prelude, postlude, offertory, and even communion probably. Um, as you say, crepes works well. What else could work well?
Well, I would think about Frescobaldi's Fiori Musicali.
Mm-hmm.
Musical flowers, I think, this collection would work well too for the liturgy, and it's not too hard. And the other composer that I thought while reading, the list of pieces that Gunilla had played was actually Pachelbel. Don't you think that Pachelbel would work well too?
Absolutely, because we both played a lot of Pachelbel back in the day when we played
Yes.
in liturgy.
I remember having that Dover's edition, complete works, I think, of Pachelbel, organ works of Pachelbel, and it helped me a lot. When selecting preludes and postludes and offering.
I remember you used to sight read Pachelbel pieces for Christian Scientist.
Yes, that's what I
liturgy.
did. And also I did it with Frescobaldi.
Did you do that with César Franck's L'Organiste?
Yes, I did that as well. That's a nice collection for church organist.
And should we advise Gunilla to improvise as well?
Yes, that's a good way too, to be able to expand your ability and to improvise. Then, sometimes you don't have time to find any music or, to repeat any music. So just improvise.
Especially if you are not a very advanced sight reader.
Yes.
So sometimes it's easier to sight read a melody of the hymn tune and just add a polyphonic second voice from your head, and vice versa.
Yes, when talking about repertoire, also try some Italian composers. We created quite, a lot of easy organ music. Composers like, for example, Cipolla, like his Pastoral. That's a very easy piece, but a nice one. And I also know his like Elevazione and Offering. We are nice and easy too.
Mm-hmm.
And we have very little pedal.
And chorale partitas by Böhm or Pachelbel would work well.
Yes. And because we are segmented, like chorale-based variations, you can play as many as you wish or as many as you need. If you don't need much, you can only play one. But if you need more music, then play a few of them.
I somehow don't think that French music would work for her well. French classical, I mean.
Probably not.
Too difficult.
Yes. Too many ornaments, probably, and
Maybe later.
Yes.
When she gets the more skill in this and can advance to the next level along with improvisation. So, do you think that she could benefit from playing harmony exercises in addition?
I think it's beneficial to any musician.
Maybe not dry harmony exercises, but let's say harmonizing hymns.
Sure, why not?
Not looking at the hymnal, but adding your own harmonization or alternative harmonization for the last stanza, let's say. Good, I see you agree with me. So, anything else that you could add for Gunilla today?
Just to encourage her, to keep going and to keep practicing.
And report us back your progress, right? In in 3 months, in 6 months, in 1 year from now.
Yes, and don't blame yourself for being a slow learner. You're doing just fine, and it's excellent that you started to learn to play in not as early age. I think it's wonderful. I think many people would just envy you and would sort of feel amazed by your courage
Do you
and
think
by your
that
progress.
Gunilla is competing with other organisms or no?
I think that the most important thing is to compete you with yourself.
What do you mean?
Because if you compete to others, I think it's unfair. Because you could compete only with somebody who was in the same situation through lifetime as you were.
That's you
Yes.
only.
Otherwise, it's sort of unfair game, and I don't think it's a good thing.
Sometimes people, when they look at videos on the internet, they get the wrong impression, right? Instead of being inspired by that video, they feel discouraged,
Intimidated, sort of, yes.
yeah. Okay, and try to be better a little bit today than yesterday, and a little bit worse than tomorrow. Right, Osha?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. This was Vidas.
And Osha.
And remember, when you practice,
Miracles happen.